Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. Do you dread hearing the question, what's for dinner? Whether you spend your days keeping up with toddlers, running kids to after-school activities, or juggling a career and family, getting dinner on the table can be a struggle for us all. I'm Mariefiebach, a business owner, wife, and mom of 4. I'm on a mission to build stronger families one dinner at a time, and I'm here with tips, tricks, and inspiration you need to feed your family tonight. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast, episode 171. I'm your host, Mariefiebach, and I am so happy to be here with you today. Today, we are going to be talking about how to save money in the grocery store. And don't you know, we all need that these days. Groceries are getting really expensive. And today, we're going to focus on how to save money by shopping markdowns at your grocery store. I have 6 tips for shopping markdowns. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor, Yummy Crate. It is deep winter here in Kansas, and that means I'm spending a lot of time home with my kids, and one of our favorite things to do is to spend time in the kitchen. Yummy Crate from KiwiCo invites the entire family to get hands-on, kid-tested, and kid-tasted recipes while building kitchen confidence and learning about science along the way. My daughter and niece had so much fun making pancakes and learning about Levner with their Yummy Crate. Yummy Crate explores science, technology, engineering, art, and math topics through projects that inspire, celebrate, and build our kids' natural creativity and confidence in the kitchen. Bring kitchen confidence with hands-on experimentation to the kitchen table with Yummy Crate from KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month plus free shipping with the code FYFT for Feed Your Family Tonight at kiwico.com. That's 50% off your first month at kiwico.com, promo code FYFT. All right, friends, it is no joke. The price of groceries are definitely increasing everywhere. My daughter works at a grocery store, and she has been flabbergasted as how much grocery prices have increased over the past few months. We're all feeling it. And when people are trying to tighten their budgets, the first place they often look is to the grocery budget. Now, I often think maybe we need to look at our takeout budget before we look at our grocery budget, because you can definitely eat less expensively when you're eating at home. But today we're going to focus on one way to still have really quality food at a lower price. And that is by shopping the markdowns at your grocery store. I have 6 tips for shopping the markdowns, but before I get into the tips, I want to explain what I mean by markdowns. This is not your weekly grocery ad. This is not worrying about coupons. This is items that the grocery store has marked down so that they will sell quickly. And there's several reasons why a grocery store is marking down an item. They might be marking down an item because it has been discontinued, or another vendor has purchased the shelf space for that item, and so that store is not going to carry the item anymore. It might not be discontinued all over the country, but that store is not going to carry it, so they're clearing out the item. The packaging might be slightly damaged. A box might be crushed a little bit, or a can might be dented. Sometimes they're marking it down because there is a new grocery ad coming, and this is the case for meat. I'll get into it a little bit deeper in tip 6, so stay to the end for this. But sometimes they're marking down something because they had it on ad the week before, and they need the extra space to bring in the new items for this week's ad. And sometimes an item is on markdown because it's going to expire quickly. So you want to make sure you keep an eye on the expiration dates when you're buying markdowns. But just because something's expiring quickly doesn't mean that it might not be a really great deal for you and your family. So let's dig into my 6 tips for saving money at the grocery store by purchasing markdowns. Tip number 1 is, if you won't use it, it is not worth buying. Just because something is a great deal doesn't mean that it's a great deal for you. Lots of people kind of get a little rush when they see bargains. My mother definitely gets a little rush from bargains, and my father is known for saying, you can't spend yourself rich. And what that means is you can't make money by spending money. And if you're not going to use it or it's not something that you would use anyway, then you're not really getting any savings by buying it. So keep this in mind as you evaluate purchasing markdowns. Tip number 2 is know the regular price of an item. You also want to know what the typical sale price is of an item. I know that there's a couple of grocery stores that have boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Their regular price is about $4.99 a pound, but about every other week or so, I can usually get it for $2.99 to $3.99 a pound. I know kind of what the regular price is. You don't need to keep a spreadsheet unless, keeping a spreadsheet brings you joy, then be my guest and keep a spreadsheet of what the regular price of the items that you usually buy are. But you just kind of want to know in your head, generally, the regular price and a typical sale price of an item that you might be purchasing on markdown. Tip number 3 is keep some wiggle room in your budget so that you can buy ahead. When things are at their best price, it is a really great idea to buy extra of those and store them or freeze them so that you can get by until they'll be at their best price again. Markdowns are not reliable. You don't know what you're going to get. It's kind of like Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. When it comes to markdowns, it's a box of chocolates and you never know what you're going to get. So when you find something on a really great buy, if you have a little extra wiggle room in your budget, buy a lot of it so that you can freeze it or store it as long as you know that you can use it before it expires. It is really great to stock up. Let me give you an example. Again, I said chicken breasts in my area go on sale for $2.99 to $3.99 a pound. And the other day I happened to be in Kroger and they had the high quality natural chicken breasts that don't have the added salt that I like on markdown for $1.49 a pound. Sales now are $2.99 to $3.99 a pound. So this is half of the sale price. I am not going to find chicken at this price, maybe ever again, but certainly not for a very long time. And so I stocked up. I bought 12 packages of this boneless, skinless chicken breast, and it cost me $60 to do it. But I had enough wiggle room in my budget that I could do that. And in the end, our family is going to be saving a lot of money because I was able to purchase the boneless, skinless chicken breast at the rock bottom price. Tip number 4 is consider your storage and your freezer space before you buy markdowns. You want to make sure that you have space in your freezer and space in your storage room or your pantry to house these items if you are stocking up. Meats will last indefinitely in your freezer if they are frozen properly. If you want to get into some of the best ways to freeze things, go listen to episode 165 with Rachel T. Meyer of Thriving Home. We did a whole episode on freezer best practices, and she has really, really great information on freezing food. So go there if you're wanting to freeze some of the markdowns that you get. But I have a big deep freeze, so I have quite a lot of space. So it wasn't a big deal for me to buy 40 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast because I had room in my freezer to house it. But you may not have a deep freeze, so you don't want to buy more than what you can put in your freezer or in your pantry. It's especially true with things that are expiring quickly. You want to check those expiration dates because you might be stocking up on something. Most packaged foods, it's a use by date and you're usually safe eating them after the use by date. But you just want to be aware of that, be cognizant of that, and make sure that you're not purchasing more than you can eat before it expires or goes bad. Tip number 5 is to repackage your meat before you freeze it. If you put a 3-pound package of boneless, skinless chicken breasts into your freezer, just packaged straight in the freezer, you're going to end up with a 3-pound block of ice. And you can thaw it, but then you're thawing and refreezing if you're not using all of the 3 pounds. So I recommend when you have larger quantities of meat that you have purchased to repackage it into meal size or individual portions so that you can use it more readily when it's time to cook a meal. Let me dig into this a little bit about how I repackage meat, because there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, and different ways are going to work for different kinds of meat and different families. The first thing you can do is you can actually take the meat and cut it into the shapes and sizes. So if I've got boneless, skinless chicken breast, some of them I might butterfly. I have a whole blog post on how to prepare chicken breasts for grilling. And one thing that I like to do is slice them down the middle so that they're thinner and they grill more evenly. So if it's grilling season and I'm buying a bunch of chicken on sale, I will often butterfly it before I freeze it so that it's super easy to quickly marinate and throw on the grill. In the winter, I'm often cutting it into 1-inch chunks so that I can quickly throw it into a stir fry. If I find something like ground beef or ground turkey on sale, I will often make the ground turkey into turkey sausage. So I'll mix up my homemade turkey sausage and then make it into patties and freeze so that I can pull out individual patties. Or in the summer, I'll make my make-ahead hamburger patties and have those made up. The other thing you can do is even pre-cook the meat before you freeze it. So I'll take 3-4 pounds of chicken breasts and I'll put them in my Instant Pot. Sometimes I'll do my lemony Instant Pot chicken, which is really yummy and is versatile, so you can do it with lots of different recipes. Or I'll make chicken tacos. Or I'll brown 10 pounds of hamburger with a little bit of onions and put it in freezer bags so that I can make cheeseburger baked potatoes, or I can throw that browned meat into spaghetti or chili or tacos or anything. So sometimes you want to freeze it raw. Sometimes you want to cook it up. And then the key is, though, always freeze it in meal size or individual portions. So with boneless, skinless chicken breast, this is how I freeze it all the time. I will take a baking sheet and I will put a piece of parchment paper or a silicone mat down, and I will put 1 layer of chicken breast. And then I'll put another piece of parchment paper or a silicone mat, and I'll put another layer of chicken breast. And I can usually freeze about 2 or 3 layers. I'll put them in the freezer for about 8 hours or overnight. And then all of those chicken breasts are frozen solid, but they're individual. So you can take them out and then put them in a zip bag. So when you go to make dinner, you can pull out 1 chicken breast. You can pull out 4 chicken breasts. You can pull out what you need when you need it, rather than having a big solid block of frozen meat in your freezer. Tip number 6 is learn your store's markdown habits. I have gotten markdowns at all sorts of different stores: Kroger, Walmart, Target, Sprouts, Aldi. Every store kind of has a different way for dealing with markdowns, and each store, some Krogers do it one way, some Krogers do it a different way. Each store is individual, but usually a specific store has general habits for how they do their markdowns. You want to learn how your store does their markdowns. You want to know where they keep the non-perishable markdowns. Most of the time, it's somewhere kind of in a back corner of the store. I've got one store where it's kind of up by the pharmacy, and one store where it's way in the back past the dairy case. Sometimes stores will have different areas. There's a little area for the produce in one section, and then they have a cart where they keep all of their breads that are marked down. Sometimes the markdowns are just kind of mixed in with the regular items. That is usually the case for things like meat and dairy. You'll go to the meat case and you'll see the markdown stickers on certain items. The other thing is will mark down different times of day, different days of the week. My parents have found that Wednesday morning, right at 7 a.m. is a great time, because the grocery store is trying to put out the new meats for the new ad that's coming out on Wednesday. So they want to clear the shelves of whatever's left from last week's ad. So get to know your store. The employees are really usually very kind about telling you when they do markdowns. So don't be afraid to ask them. Say, hey, when do you usually do your markdowns? And most of the time, they're really happy to share. It really isn't any sweat off their back. So don't be afraid to ask your employees the markdown habits of your favorite grocery store. I know our family has saved hundreds, probably thousands of dollars over the years by buying markdown meats and other markdown items, markdown produce. It can be a great way to save money and still buy high quality items. You just want to make sure to follow my tips, which tip number 1 is if you aren't going to use it anyway, then it's not a good deal. Tip number 2, know what a normal and a sale price of those items are so that you know if it is a really good price or not. Tip number 3 is buy ahead when you can. So try and leave a little wiggle room in your budget. If you find a really great deal on something, buy it ahead. It will save you money. Tip number 4, consider how much storage and freezer space you have before purchasing a bunch of a particular item. Make sure that you have a place to store it or freeze it until you can use it. Tip number 5, repackage your meat before you freeze it so that it is easier to use when it's time to make a meal. And tip number 6 is learn your store's markdown habits so that you can get the best deals. I hope this podcast gave you some great tips for saving money at the grocery store buying markdowns. I would love to hear if you ever buy markdowns and your best tips for markdowns in the Feed Your Family Tonight Facebook group. So join me over there, Facebook.com/Feed Your Family Tonight. I'd love to talk with you more about markdowns. Friends, I hope you are doing well. Take care.